Greetings, folks. I'm Josh Williams here with the one and only
Fred Miner from Peregrine Safe and Ready.
Fred. How are we doing in this winter wonderland?
You know, I've been doing okay, but I do have an all-wheel drive with good tires, so that helps a lot.
The Sunmobile is not built for snow.
The Sunmobile was built for sun?
Yes, and snow.
How does that work?
I've gotten stuck on a couple of hills. Spinning the tires, you try and slow it.
So it sounds like you need a snowmobile.
I maybe. Well, that's
bad, huh?
Start out there,
bad, huh? Yeah, I know. I couldn't resist.
Yeah, no. Oh, all right, so we've been walloped as we're looking at the window here on Main Street in Geneseo as the car's going by, loaded up with about a foot of snow on the hood. You can tell.
The street looks pretty good from here, but you know the side streets are bad. And I know yesterday morning when things weren't plowed, it was bad. I came up along Canisius Lake. And
about 9 months from now, we're going to see a lot of babies.
Maybe. Possibly. It's not quite like a blackout or something, but yeah, we'll see.
All right. Well, Fred here from Peregrine Safe and Ready, for you folks that are just tuning in, specializes in self-defense, preparing yourself for when the you-know-what hits the fan, as well as firearm training.
Along with health and fitness, for the good days.
And looking at today, as I was shoveling snow, I was like, wow, my back's feeling a little bit funny from all this snow shoveling.
Well, lower back gets really used when you shovel. And if people don't have the strong core or do the amount of training that it takes, it is going to make you sore. No question. People need to be careful, and all the old stuff that everybody always said, lift with your legs, not with your back. Take frequent breaks and stand up and hyperextend and stretch and stuff really helps. And, of course, we also get the calls during this weather, the people that overdo it and, frequently see heart attacks or at least chest pains or things like that associated with shoveling snow. It's not that shoveling snow is in and of itself something that will cause a heart attack. It's just hard work. And a lot of times people will throw themselves into it in a way they're not used to. So, got to be careful.
Take your time then.
Take your time. Yeah, be prepared. And again, it's a reminder that it's a lot better to be in shape than to try and get in shape when the situation calls for it. Because you never know when we're going to. How long has it been since we had a fall like this? It's been a while.
It absolutely has. Absolutely has. And the thing is, we might have gotten hit before, but this has been nonstop. We've been getting. Yeah. This is probably the first break we've had in 3 days.
I keep reminding my daughter, it's not even winter yet.
Right.
It's still the end of fall.
Right. I'm having a tough time with that one, Fred.
I know. A lot of people are having a hard time, but we're going to have a white Christmas. So,
all right.
Looks nice.
Yeah. All right. So, where are we at? There's a couple things on your little
list here, the one that we missed a session last week with some of the other news events of the day and things that had to be covered, but something came out, and I thought it got very little coverage in the mainstream press. There's a provision apparently in the Obamacare bill, or we should call it the Affordable Care Act, where volunteer organizations are still bound to provide health insurance if they have over 50, quote, employees. And that one hit me personally because I last summer joined the local ambulance squad. And from what they were saying, this will apply to volunteer fire departments and other EMS squads that obviously can't afford to provide health insurance to 50 or 100 or whatever volunteer members that they have. So this is another thing that could really smack us all pretty hard.
Does that depend on the amount of hours that somebody is being a volunteer for?
That's not how it was written.
Okay.
And I don't know the exact provisions of it. I know the discussion was that, basically, we're treated as employees the way that law is written, and it falls under the IRS. So the IRS is looking at these nonprofits and saying, well, you've got over 50, quote, employees, and therefore you need to provide health insurance for them. 87% of firefighters in America are volunteer firefighters. So that shows you the magnitude of this.
So over 50. So what we'll probably see, just playing this through my mind as you begin to share this information with me, is that we'll see people going to volunteer. The organization is at 49. They can't go up to 50 or 51. They probably have some people that have been volunteering there for 30 years. They'll always volunteer there, but maybe they don't hit the calls and the numbers like they can. So it's going to be very tricky. You're going to see politics. Who do you let on the roster?
Let me
give you off the roster?
Let me give you a different scenario for this. Okay. You know my take on things anyways, Josh. I don't think this was an oversight and just a bureaucratic screw-up. If it was, they would be very anxious to just rewrite that provision out of it.
Oh, no, this is totally intentional. There's no doubt about that.
And what we're looking at is you close down these volunteer organizations, and you can't go without fire service or ambulance service or something like that. Who comes in? The feds come in. It comes under Homeland Security. This would be one more opportunity. The way things are now, these people are friends and neighbors. Right. If your grandmother falls down and needs somebody to come pick her up, chances are one of the people on that ambulance call is going to be somebody you know, or that knows somebody you know. It's well organized. They've got their communications all in place. People are trained. They have equipment. But they fund themselves through fundraisers. Sometimes we get grants from the village, county, the state, or whatever, but it's still a local organization, and that seems to be the thing that they want to get rid of and put everything under massive, inefficient federal oversight. So hopefully there'll be enough pressure and enough outcry that this will get changed. But there was a lot of outcry over this individual mandate thing, people losing their insurance. And our president went on TV and said, well, then you can go ahead and keep your insurance. But he also said when they tried to write a bill to change that provision of the law that he wouldn't sign it. So in my estimation, the man is acting like a tyrant, because what does a tyrant do? A tyrant says, well, I don't care what the law says, I'm telling you do this. He has no legal authority to exempt anybody from that once it's written into the law. And at the same time, he's not willing to have the law changed because it's the law he wanted.
This is how he's been operating from the start. This has been his MO from the very beginning when it came in, when he took office, and we're in the midst of that bailout package that was started under the previous president, Bush. He had started this out. Obama took it over. It's pretty much followed up with everything that he had done, but he put his own little staple. He tucked in some nooks and crannies, but it's a socialism.
I would say he took hold of. Here's my problem. I'm going to quote one of my favorite writers. I like Ann Coulter.
Okay.
Ann is very outspoken, doesn't care who she upsets. Ann Coulter says, I don't like many Republicans. I just don't like any Democrats.
Right.
I like that attitude. It kind of goes back to the old Will Rogers thing about politicians in general. And what we seem to be faced with today is either we can have a direct line towards socialism or socialism light that takes a more meandering course but arrives at the same place. And both parties seem to be really bent on big government and big government programs to fix everything. And I run into people all the time that still look, wherever there's an injustice, and of course the world's always been full of them, somebody ought to do something. And that somebody always ends up by default being the government. But if they would look at it historically, the government does if I can use the word on air, a piss poor job of fixing things.
Piss poor is perfectly acceptable.
We can do that on this show, can't we?
GenesisZone.com is
the censors won't bloop us out
with piss poor.
Okay,
all right.
So they really do. We can take your emails and be as irate as you like. But that's the real thing, is that centralized bureaucracies just don't do well with things. If you think they do, go back and look at the number of Russians that starved in the breadbasket of Europe under Stalinist control. And people think, well, that's awfully extreme. We're not talking about the same thing. Inefficiency is inefficiency. And I still defer on the side of freedom. Something I've been giving a lot of thought to, and give this a little consideration, Josh.
All right.
You can guarantee equality of outcome, or you can guarantee equality of opportunity, but you can't guarantee both. America was founded on the idea that we would guarantee equal opportunity, so that then people, by their own effort, their God-given ability or whatever, could strive and do the best they could personally do. It was never perfect, and there was always people that tried to circumvent it, but that was the ideal. Today we live in a society that seems to say we want guaranteed outcome. No child left behind. Everybody gets to go to college. Everybody gets health insurance. Everybody deserves food, whether they work for it or not. And if we live in a culture that's going to guarantee equal outcome like that, that means we'll all be stuck with the same level of mediocrity.
I'm buying it.
And I think that's where people need to really look this over and say, okay, what do I want? Is this the hope and change that I was looking for?
Right.
You know, think long and hard on that.
Right.
Don't fall for bylines.
Yeah. Hope and change was.
Think it through.
I'm gonna I'm gonna self edit here and not say what I was just about to say.
Because it will get bleeped out, won't it?
Yeah. So, well,
Yeah.
all right. Well, we gotta wrap it up here, Fred. With the snow and the weather here, what are any tips here that you could? You mentioned you yelled at me. Actually, not yell at me, but you asked me a question because I put my car in a ditch. But
I think it's a really good time to be extra careful out there for a guy who's always advocating preparedness. Throw a toe strap and maybe an extra blanket, pair of overshoes in the back of your car. That can be it might not save your life, but it sure can save you from a lot of discomfort.
right.
With the circumstances. And the other thing is to be really careful out there. I know, both of us try to get out and get our miles in, whether it's summer or winter, but it's slippery. You got to watch for ice. You got to be careful of traffic because you got snowbanks along the road and that, and really be careful.
Well, on Saturday, Livingston County Sheriff's first responders were incredibly busy over the weekend. From 8 a.m. to 4 or 5 p.m., Sheriff's Department had over 37 calls to respond to vehicle-related calls. So we're talking accidents, cars in the ditches. There was a head-on collision in Kylaville.
I heard that one.
So there was some bad stuff that happened over the weekend. So, in these sorts of times when you have dangerous weather, just stay home.
Stay home if you
Stock
can.
up if you can.
If you can't, slow down, drive appropriately, be careful. And the other, one of the biggest things, my brother-in-law runs a body shop.
Okay.
He told me that invariably the cars that he gets in that have smashed into a tree or a light pole or something like that have bad tires.
There you
The
go.
number one thing you can do to stay safe in the bad driving conditions is have decent tires. Obviously, you can't overdrive the conditions, but if you've got bad tires, you're going to slide.
All right, there you go, folks. Once again, from
Fred Miner from Peregrine Safe and Ready. Give me a call or check me out at www.peregrinesafeandready.com.
see you later, folks. We'll see you next week.
Bye.